Thomas Sankara, Africa's revolutionary leader today, we explore one of Africa's boldest leaders, Thomas Sankara. He fought for the well-being of his people, stood against corruption, injustice, and imperialism. He became the voice of the oppressed and shaped history with his revolutionary spirit. His courage and determination left an indelible mark on Africa's struggle for freedom. We will uncover the 10 extraordinary qualities that made him not just a statesman, but a revolutionary spirit, a hero of the people, and a visionary leader. However, like every great leader, he also had his weaknesses. We will also reveal the 3 major mistakes that challenged his path and cast a shadow over his struggle. A revolutionary leader.
Thomas Sankara was one of Africa's most determined leaders in the fight against colonialism and imperialism. He did not only seek independence for his own country, but aimed to free the entire continent from colonial powers. He opposed the influence of international organizations and foreign governments on Africa's economy and politics. Sankara strongly advocated for self-sufficiency, urging African nations to manage their own resources and achieve development without relying on external aid.
We must reject the so-called aid that comes in the form of debt. We need independence, not indebtedness. Independent development model.
Thomas Sankara rejected Burkina Faso's dependence on foreign aid. To him, true independence was impossible without economic freedom. He prioritized local production, strengthened agriculture, and promoted industrialization. By supporting farmers, he increased food production. He established factories to reduce reliance on imports. Through bold reforms, he aimed to build a self-sufficient nation using its own resources.
A country that survives on the help of others can never be truly free. Declaring war on corruption.
Sankara took radical measures to eliminate corruption within the government. He banned state officials from living in luxury, reduced their salaries, and removed special privileges. He ensured that public resources were used solely for the well-being of the people. By cutting bureaucratic obstacles, he encouraged greater public participation in governance. For him, integrity was the foundation of a nation.
A nation may be poor, but it must be honorable. Corruption destroys the soul of a country. Advocating for African unity.
Thomas Sankara fought not only for Burkina Faso, but for the freedom and development of the entire African continent. As a pan-Africanist leader, he believed that the division among African nations was the greatest advantage of colonial powers. In his view, true independence could only be achieved through unity and solidarity. He emphasized the need for Africa to protect its own resources, develop a shared vision, and act collectively.
If Africa unites, it will become the greatest power in the world. Charismatic and inspiring.
Thomas Sankara was a leader who influenced, inspired, and mobilized his people with his powerful oratory skills. His speeches were more than just words. Each sentence carried a message of hope. He could explain even the most complex political and economic issues in a simple and understandable way, directly connecting with people from all walks of life. Sankara's speeches resonated not only in Burkina Faso, but across the entire African continent.
The independence of Africa is in the hands of Africans. A humble leader.
Thomas Sankara rejected extravagance and chose to live under the same conditions as his people. He eliminated unnecessary government expenses, sold luxury vehicles, and reduced his own salary. Instead of accumulating wealth, he sought justice for his people. He replaced official state cars with a modest Renault 5. To prevent government officials from becoming detached from the public, he abolished their special privileges. He was not just a ruler, he was a leader who lived among his people.
To him, leadership meant not a path to wealth, but a duty to serve the people. A defender of women's rights.
Thomas Sankara was one of the most courageous leaders in Africa when it came to advocating for women's rights. He banned female genital mutilation, forced marriages, and polygamy. He encouraged women's education, participation in the workforce, and political involvement. For him, true equality was not just a slogan, but something that had to be reinforced through laws and policies. He believed that no society could ever be truly free unless its women were empowered.
The true measure of a society's freedom is the freedom of its women. Equality in education and healthcare.
Sankara believed that education and healthcare were fundamental rights, not privileges. He launched mass literacy campaigns, leading to a major transformation in the education system. By implementing free and accessible education, he significantly increased literacy rates. He also introduced major healthcare reforms, making basic medical services free for all. Through these actions, he improved the quality of life and reduced social inequalities.
Education is the future of a society. If you want to liberate a country, educate its people. Taking bold steps for the environment.
Sankara believed that protecting the environment was a national responsibility. He launched large-scale reforestation campaigns to combat desertification. Through the Great Green Wall Project, millions of trees were planted. He also built numerous dams to preserve water resources and boost agriculture. To raise awareness, he promoted environmental education and conservation efforts.
If we do not protect our land and trees, we will lose our future. Renaming Burkina Faso.
To sever ties with his country's colonial past, Sankara made a historic decision. He replaced the French colonial name Upper Volta with Burkina Faso, a name that reflected the identity and values of its people. The name means land of honest people, symbolizing his vision of leadership and national pride. To Sankara, this was not just a name change. It was a restoration of dignity and independence.
Our country did not just change its name, it changed its soul. Mistakes the challenges of a true revolutionary. Thomas Sankara was one of Africa's most inspiring leaders. However, like every great revolutionary, he also had his shortcomings. Suppressing the opposition.
To implement the revolution quickly, Sankara restricted political freedoms. He saw the opposition as a threat and took strict measures against criticism. Journalists and politicians who opposed government policies faced pressure, and some were arrested.
Revolutions require sacrifice, but sometimes the biggest mistake is not realizing who you are sacrificing. Weakness in managing internal conflicts.
One of Sankara's greatest mistakes was his inability to resolve conflicts within his administration. He had deep disagreements with some of his closest associates. This created an opportunity for external forces whose interests were threatened to find local collaborators easily. In the end, he was assassinated in a coup led by his closest ally, Blaise Compaoré.
No matter how great a leader is, once he loses the trust of those around him, danger becomes inevitable. Economic isolation.
Sankara waged a determined fight against imperialism. However, by challenging the West without first building strong alliances, he economically isolated his country. He rejected institutions like the IMF and the World Bank and cut off foreign aid. While these actions strengthened Burkina Faso's independence, they also led to severe economic difficulties. The people faced extreme hardships and financial struggles.
We are ready to pay any price for independence, but one must remember, like a starving people cannot sustain a revolution. Thomas Sankara became one of Africa's most inspiring leaders with his courage, integrity, and revolutionary spirit. He fought for his people, stood against corruption, and worked to build an independent future. Despite all the challenges, his bold reforms left a lasting impact on Africa. Even today, leaders who believe in justice, equality, and freedom continue to carry on his legacy.
Sankara, Sankara, mon président. Sankara, Sankara du Burkina. Il est venu en homme intègre pour bâtir une Afrique. Sankara, Sankara, Sankara.